tired team and the heavy load. Crack my whip and the leader sprung. I says day to the wagon tongue. Turkey in a straw, hee-hee-haw. Turkey in the hay, hee-hee-hey. Roll 'em up, twist 'em up, I tug a haul. Twist 'em up a tune called Turkey in a Straw.
Take one handicapped hillbilly, take one fat hillbilly and a handful of college kids, and you have the ingredients for the gory goo cake that is Carver. We watched it, so you don't have to. So you know what time it is.
Horror, so bad it's scary. Splitting up is never okay. Plot, who needs it? Don't turn on the lights. Cars don't ever start, but that's alright. Running upstairs instead of out the door. Good acting, what do we need that for? Horrible horror, so bad it's scary. Enjoy the show, but not really.
What's up, Moon Goons? Or I should say Turkey in the Straw Moon Goons. I don't know what the fuck that means, but we're going to hear a lot of it. This is welcome. I can't even get to the intro without that damn song. All right, this is Horrible Horror, the podcast where we watch the worst of the worst in horror movies. Movies so bad they're scary. I'm your host, Marshall Hampton. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Aaron Southworth. Aaron, how are you doing?
Hey, haw. Turkey. Man, that song.
I know.
This movie has a song that just gets stuck in your craw.
Yeah, so I was gonna bring that up later, but while we're talking about it, let's just right off the bat. I want to say a big shout out and thank you to Franklin Guerrero Jr., the writer director of this movie, because he actually spent a lot of time corresponding with me via emails, telling me a lot of stuff about this movie, and he was a world of information and just super cool and a good sport about this. But at the same time, fuck you very much, Frankie. Yeah, I'm calling you Frankie for that goddamn Turkey in the Hay song that's been stuck in my head for 3 days.
To be perfectly honest, at first when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun and catchy, but it just keeps coming.
Yeah, it's like an earwig. It just barrels into your brain, and you can't get it out. 3 days I've been trying to go to sleep. I've been, turkey in the straw, hey, turkey in the hay. I'm like, God damn it. I can't get this thing out of my head.
We should probably mention the movie.
Yeah.
The name of the movie.
The name of the movie is Carver, by the way. Yeah, so you heard a little bit of the that song in the opening, this week's opening. So that's just this little taste of what you hear throughout this whole movie a lot. But anyway, Carver. Yeah. Aaron, I don't know, Aaron has something he wanted to bring up before we go into the movie itself, because he wants to make me look bad, which is fine. I admit when I am wrong about something, but I will let Aaron take his.
Oh, I'm not trying to make you look bad. I'm just trying to prove it. Just make sure that we got the facts straight here. Okay?
Yeah, I admit when I'm wrong.
Episode 93, we did pro wrestlers versus zombies.
That's correct.
And we did kind of get into a little bit of back and forth about the name of one of the characters, the nurse zombie, whether it was Barbara or Laura. And I heard Barbara, and I said, it's Barbara. Marshall was adamant to the point where he would not admit it. Like, he was like, I'm not, even if you're right, I'm not changing it, and still call the character Laura.
Yeah.
Laura. So, to be clear.
Zombie nurse Laura, yeah.
On our Facebook page, we post, what movies we've done, episodes. We actually had the writer-director... Cody Knotts decides to chime in. He says, hey, thanks for sharing. And he decides to chime in also on the second comment. Oh, by the way, it is Barbara.
Yep.
So, baboom.
Yeah, I admit I apparently was wrong. I quit admit when I'm wrong, but to this day, I don't know. I swear I thought I heard a voice call her Laura at some point. Obviously, I was wrong. So I admit it. Aaron was right. It is Barbara.
If I remember correctly, I said you owe me shots.
Yeah.
So we're going to the bar after this. Line them up.
Line them up. All right. Back to today's movie at hand. Yeah, like I said, it's Carver. This is from 2008, released on March 4th of 2008. Like I said already, it was written and directed by Franklin Guerrero Jr. This movie actually won Best of Fest award at the 2007 Freaky Film Festival. You can find it on Amazon. However, that is the edited version on Amazon Prime right now. It's where they took out a lot of the actual gore and which is what kind of
really helped the movie.
Really helps this movie. It's kind of like all this movie really has going. Now, even the director said that really all this movie has is the gore. So, but it's the R-rated version that just took a lot of stuff out, but it's there for free. Speaking of Amazon, the blurb on Amazon actually says, see what is being hailed as the most scary and horrific scene in horror movie history, which makes me scratch my head because I'm like, I don't know exactly what scene they're talking about. I have two maybe ideas, but even then it's like, to say anything this movie was the most horrific and scary scene in all of horror movie history is a bit of a stretch, I think.
Bold statement.
Bold statement.
Yeah, you're going pretty deep there. I mean, there's a rich history of horror movies.
I think somebody's greasing some palms to get that added.
Yeah.
Franklin, did you have something to do with that out there?
What's going on there?
Let's talk about the cast real quick. We're going to touch on a few people first. Even though she has almost an incredibly small part, it turned once I figured out who she was. Natasha Charles Parker plays Gina in this movie. Now the reason I write this down is for anime fans out there, well, yeah, anime fucking. She has 17 credits for her name. Most of it is voice acting in anime or Japanese stuff. She did 27 episodes of Pokemon, where she voiced Rhonda, Kenny, and Solana. She's also in Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea, and she was in the English version of, I'm sorry if I butcher this, Iko Azarak, the Misa the Dark Angel anime, I guess, where she voiced Yoko. So if you're big anime fans out there, there's a lot of anime people. People love anime.
We used to watch it.
Yeah, I never got. I watched some. I didn't get as much into it as you and some of our other friends.
We did watch it though, like in the mid-90s.
Mid-90s, yeah.
Like when we had to go to the video store and just pray they had new ones that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was just this ridiculous, just anime out the
it was like a diarrhea explosion of anime coming everywhere.
God.
Moving on, we have Matt Carmoody. Carmoody plays Pete in this movie. He's got 24 credits: NCIS, CSI Miami, CSI New York, JAG, Crossing Jordan, all 20 episodes of some show called Ponderosa, whenever that was on. And he also won Best Actor for his role as Pete in this movie at the same festival where the movie won for Best in Fest. I'm gonna come back to that one. And
JAG. He's in JAG.
He's in JAG.
Who watches JAG?
Retirees or something.
Isn't it about like airport or Air Force lawyers?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
It's like Air Force or Navy. No, that NCIS is Navy. I think it's Air Force.
It's so weird.
Or maybe it is Navy, but it's like I forget what. It's a military thing. It's like NCIS.
You're a JAG officer, but you're
no, it's not JAG. It's a judicial. I forget, but it's like the last part is general or something like that. It's a military lawyer basically. Yeah. I should know that. Shame on me. And then we have Ursula Tahirian plays Kate. She's got 33 credits, 5 episodes of Family Guy. She was in all 13 episodes of this cartoon called The Descendants, Wicked World, which I guess is about witches or something. Pretty Little Liars, which is kind of I guess a tween show. It's kind of popular. And then she's also done some video game voiceover roles as like in Diablo 3 and Saints Row 4. And then lastly, we're going to talk about Kristen Green, who makes her second back-to-back appearance on Horrible Horror, because she was in last week's episode where she played Janet in Evil Bong. She was the blonde from Evil Bong.
No shit.
Yep. She plays Rachel in this movie as well. So
wow.
Back-to-back appearances, unbeknownst.
I did not recognize her.
Yeah. I will say she was much better in this than Evil Bong was a pretty shitty movie.
I
but,
gotta admit though, when we did Evil Bong, I was under the influence of the Evil Bong. So
I don't remember much of that episode.
I may have missed a few things.
All right, let's jump into the movie proper. Here we go. The movie Carver. We open with a credit card that says based on true events. So take that for what you will.
And that's where we got the music going.
That's where you have hee haw, turkey in the straw, hee hey, turkey in the hay, wind them up, spit them out, slap him around. Yeah, it's anyway, it's a hillbilly-rific song, by the way. It is so. It is. Like, you can't get more. It's like probably the most hillbilly song I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, all I want to do is grease a pig and drink moonshine.
I just want to get a banjo and like blow in a jug.
Yeah.
After some opening wilderness shots, we're taken to like this dirty, dingy basement cellar where we see a girl in her bra and panties. So she's laying on the ground, tied up, dirty. And she kind of wakes up and she manages to get to her feet. Her hands are tied behind her back and she's looking for a way out. And, on her way out, she spots this guy, this fat hillbilly. Her fat hillbilly captor.
Massive guy.
Big guy.
Real big guy.
Not that tall, but just big.
Yeah.
And
probably 350, somewhere around there.
I would say easily, yeah. And he enters frame and she goes back to where she woke up and like tries to like cut her way free with like a bone she finds.
Yeah.
Which bones aren't that sharp, so I don't know how that would really work.
Well, she was able to do
but
something.
Apparently they're just shitty knots, I guess. But in comes the Tubby, who wears like this dirty beige shirt and dirty overalls, and like his mask, it's like a partial mask that covers his eyes, and it kind of looks like a cross between like an old pilot's helmet and like goggles, maybe with like old welder's goggles. I don't know. It's a really kind of odd thing. It looks like it's held together by duct tape in some spots. But
he looked like Anakin Skywalker in the Phantom Menace.
Holy shit, he does in the pod racing. It does. It's like a pod racer. I love it. It's a pod racer helmet.
Exactly what it looks like. I'm just waiting for him to be like, come on, guys, let's go. Woo! So
Eddie Mino so like it. I can't do Jar Jar. Fuck Jar Jar. Anyway,
so that's what happened to Anakin.
He just turned into this fat hillbilly.
Grew up to be.
He didn't go to the dark side. He went to the flannel side. I don't know. Whatever. So he picks up this old saw, and the girl's like pleading for her life, and we hear the record playing that Turkey in the Straw song as the killer's like walks towards her, saw in hand, blackout. Now we get like the rest of the main titles and credits. Now during the credits, we get flashes of someone like cutting film strips and setting up like an old movie projector, mixed with flashes of Tubby killing the girl by basically standing behind her. And for a lack of a better way to describe it, he's kind of like strangling her with the saw.
With the saw teeth,
with the teeth going into her neck. And he's pulling her and strangling her so tight and so strongly that her head is basically nearly cut completely off. And she's dead.
It's pretty good effect.
Yeah.
It's like, goddamn.
I will say, yeah, I liked it. It looked really good. So now we cut to this bright, sunny country road, and we meet the brothers, Brian and Pete, and as they drive in Pete's shitty old truck down the rural roads. And we learn that they're supposed to be meeting up with their friends Zach and Rachel for like a camping weekend, and that Brian hates the woods. Brian is a bitch in this movie. I'm sorry, he's a bitch.
He's kind of a bitch. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say. But at the same time, he's got some decent lines.
I'm not saying he doesn't have some decent lines. The line is actually surprisingly better than I thought it would be in this movie. There are some decent, natural like banter back and forth, and some very realistic exchanges. And so I'm not saying the writing is bad, but Brian is just a bitch.
Yeah, he does not want to be there, and he's letting it be known.
Yeah.
And something funny about Brian, too, is when they're in the truck and they're driving down, he turns off the radio, puts on his headphones, and he starts playing a Walkman.
A Walkman? This is 2008, and he's playing a Walkman.
Straight up tape cassettes.
Yeah.
I was like, huh? Huh?
Unless by some reason this was supposed to take place back in the 80s, which I don't think it is, based on like the clothing and everything else that's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
Because there's cell phones and stuff.
I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, like who in 2008 was using a Walkman? That's a great point. So the brothers pull into the Queen's Gambit. It's like this roadside restaurant where they're supposed to meet up with Zach and his girlfriend Rachel. And Brian heads in to take a dump. And this is where we meet the owner, operator, Billy Hall Carver, and his dog.
Billy Hall.
Now, I do want to say that I really like the way actor David Holland plays Billy Hall. But right off the bat that this guy has something else going on. There's something going on about this guy. But I liked him. I like the guy. I liked him.
I gotta admit, because we've seen this type of character before
all the time.
You see the shop, the creepy owner of the hotel or the restaurant or the gas station or the store, whatever. You've seen this guy a million times, and here he is again. But he's playing it close enough to the chest that you can say, yeah, he's not over the top.
No, he's not like these real creepy and like and shady or anything like that. He's a little bit welcoming, but you can tell there's a little something going on. behind the scenes there.
He nails it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say he did awesome in this role. I really enjoyed it.
Because I mean, for pretty much a typecasted type of character.
Yeah,
again,
I would love to see this guy in more like independent horror movies and kind of like even I don't care if it's typecasting or stereotype. I loved this guy, and I thought he did. I don't know. I liked him. So anyway, Brian's like, "Hey, can I use the bathroom? I need a pack of smokes." And Billy Hall's like, "All right, here, just points in the right direction." Brian finds the toilets, which are just disgusting and shit covered. Like they just like a buffalo's ass just exploded on these toilets or something. And outside, he wanders over to a dumpster for some reason. Like, I don't know what draws him to go over to and hang out by a dumpster. I don't understand the logic behind that. Like, I'm just sitting in my car, like, oh, I'm going to hang out by this dumpster all of a sudden.
Like the last place I want to go hang out.
And the only reason he does it is so he can like slide open like the little side door and like spit his gum inside. Is he that like environmentally conscious? Like, I can't spit my gum on the ground. I have to put it into the dumpster.
How polite.
I know.
My God, he's like, man, if I spit my gum out, someone might step in it. If I throw it in the grass, maybe a squirrel will eat it and get indigestion. Maybe I should go.
I mean, that is like some Boy Scout paladin level bullshit going on right there.
Top shelf goody two shoes.
Yeah. So, and once he opens up the dumpster, he sees like bloody remains of something. They're just like you don't can't really tell what it is. And that's where he gets startled by a fat guy in a beige shirt and overalls who's throwing away a toaster. And Tubby just laughs at Pete and walks away. So we go back to Brian taking his shit, and he hears the bathroom door open, and he thinks it's Pete, but no response. And then suddenly Zach slides his head underneath the stall wall while his girlfriend Rachel takes a picture from above of Brian on the shitter. Now, this movie is known for its gore, but this might be the most disgusting thing to me in this whole movie.
Because they show this bathroom as a fucking murder. Like, someone's ass was murdered in here. Because there's literally, they even say, how can you shit on the wall? There's shit everywhere.
Yeah, like on the walls, on the floor, on the toilet. But this guy decides to lay down on the floor and slide across the floor underneath the stall wall just to surprise Brian, who's taking his shit. That's disgusting. I wouldn't touch that floor. That is utterly the grossest thing in this whole movie to me. But it did remind me of a fact that back in the days when I worked at Famous Bar, now Macy's, that literally happened. I was present when that happened, and it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever been in.
So wait a minute, you saw someone slide underneath a stall?
No. I was in the stall next door to somebody who ass exploded, and he shit on the walls of the stall, the back wall, all three stall walls got covered in shit. The toilet was covered in shit. The floor was covered in shit. And I was like liquid. Like I lift my legs up off because I was shitting too.
Jesus.
And the poop was like coming underneath the stall towards my feet. Like, ah!
Disgusting.
It was the grossest thing ever. And I was working there. And I remember the only thing you remember is the shit and then the shoes of the guy. So I finished up, and I don't think he didn't. He just went. I don't even know if he wiped. He went in, did a thing, and he turned around and left. Didn't clean up at all, of course. He's like, fuck that, I'll let somebody else clean that shit up, literally. And so I walk out. When I'm done, I remember I'm walking back towards my my work area where I was in the suits and the dress clothes. And I'm walking by this guy, I'm like, I want to see the shoes. And he was standing there like I guess his wife or girlfriend, like a kid or something. Like, and I didn't say anything. Was like, I know you dirty motherfucker. I know what you did. I know what you cleaned your shit up. It was the grossest, most disgusting thing I've ever been.
You've never told me that one. Oh.
Anyway.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So we go back to the main restaurant where all four of the friends are together. Billy Hall offers them some coffee. They sit down, they chit chat for a bit. This is the banter stuff. And then Zach starts to mention that this used to be like a camper's paradise here. A lot of campers in this area.
A lot of people like to come here, and all of a sudden, for some reason, it just started going down.
Yeah, like now nobody comes here anymore. And of course, bitch Brian's like, wait, well, what do you mean? Why doesn't anybody come anymore? And he gets cut off by Billy Hall bringing him the coffee. And then Rachel sees Tubby watching them through the window from outside. And in comes the local sheriff, who tells Billy Hall that he wants to talk to Bobby Shaw, which I'm sorry, but every time I hear someone in this movie say Bobby Shaw because they're using that hillbilly accent, all I'm hearing and thinking about is Barbasol shaving cream. So it's like
Barbasol.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Barbasol.
So the sheriff whispers some things to Billy Hall about something needing to stop, and he realizes that Bobby is basically a kid, but I can't really make it out, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to or not at this point. It's hard to tell because one of the main problems in this movie is the sound quality. It goes in and out a lot.
It's not great.
No, it's not. So I don't know if that's by design. We're not supposed to hear what they're saying, like one of those weird, or if it's just the sound design going out here.
I think it was the sound going out, honestly, because you can make out enough that you can understand.
But what I'm saying, it's like one of those things like you hear, like you see like cartoons where everybody's huddled up together and you hear like one word and so it's like I don't know if it's supposed to be that type thing or if it's just the bad sound. But regardless, Billy goes off to get Tubby Bobby, and Sheriff tells the group that they don't get many visitors in this parts anymore. And again, bitch Brian asks, explaining that, why don't you get visitors? But before he can answer, in comes Billy with Barbasol, and Billy whispers in Bobby's ear not to say anything about it. So again, no surprise. There's definitely something going on with Billy, up to something which can't be good. And the sheriff takes Bobby for a ride in his cop car. As a group of friends, they leave. But Billy stops him to ask him for a favor. He's like, hey, I need help moving inventory from this storage shack I have way over yonder. Can you help me with that? And the guy's like, they're like, couch. He's like, I don't want to fucking do that.
Right.
But he's like, hey, I'll give you $50 and then you can drink all night on the house for free. Just help me out. He's like, and they're like, sold.
Deal.
Free beer? You got it.
I'm a little... Talking about this shed, I mean...
I was going to talk about the shed when we get to it, but if you want to talk about it now, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, just the relationship and the proximity to the restaurant.
Yeah.
In the...
Well, the thing is, like, it's not like he's got, like, this, like, little, like, shed out behind back. Like, this shed is, like, miles and miles away. Right? He's like, it's on the way to the campground. You'll be right there by.
You can see it from the campground.
So apparently you have to drive like 10, 20 minutes away to get to the shed to bring the stuff back. So it's not like it's out back or something like that. So yeah, that's a odd thing. Like, I don't know, store stuff so far away.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So now we cue the driving montage. You always have to have the driving montage. You gotta have it.
For some reason, it still holds on.
It's still there.
It's 2008 in this movie. Come on, guys.
Everybody's doing the driving montage. And they drive out to the middle of nowhere. They unload their camping gear, head out to find their campsite. And this is when they meet Kate, another camper who's waiting for her friend Gina to arrive. Now, the main group just decides to basically invade Kate's campsite with all their stuff, which is really weird and odd to me.
It's rude.
It's like, why would you just invade a stranger's campsite? It's like they like just manifest destiny this shit or something. I don't know. It's like we're taking over.
We're invading. There's nothing we can do.
They planted their flag. This is now the sovereign nation of, I don't know, the asshole group or something like that. It's just, they're in this basically wide open wilderness, nothing around. They can go any day they want. But it's like, we're going to take over your spot.
Yeah, it was so nuts. It was so weird but Kate just, and she even mentions later, she's like, I like to get away from it all. I like to get, out and be by myself. And these assholes just come right next, and she's just like, okay, that's fine.
Like, totally
Hi. Have you seen my friend?
Yeah. It turns out Gina was the girl we saw get basically beheaded in the opening of the movie.
She's missing.
Yeah, she's missing. So we jump back to the sheriff and Barbasol. And the sheriff leads Barbasol out into the woods where the sheriff shows Tubby the dead, bloody body of a naked blonde woman. And he says to Tubby that you wouldn't have known anything about this now, would you?
Yeah,
and
he's got his arm around him.
Yeah.
It's all kind of creepy.
A little creepy, yeah. And that's it. That's the end of the scene. And we go back to campers. And Pete and Kate, they're hitting it off right away. Like they're you can tell there's something. They're gonna
there's
smush
birds appearing and little woodland creatures going
oh
because they're talking and getting
Why
along.
do birds suddenly appear? Yeah,
it's one of those.
It's basically that. So Yeah, we are. So basically, it's more and then we just cut now to a hiking montage. They're all hiking through the woods, and including Kate, who's now part of the group. She's just with them. And eventually they arrive at Billy Hall's quote-unquote storage shed, which is basically a giant old barn, more like a granary or like an old wooden warehouse.
It's a big-ass barn.
It's huge.
It's a big-ass barn.
Yeah, but to say it's like my storage shed is a bit of a misleading. It's massive. So they all head inside, and they find, they get like, oh, there's the mason jars, or where the shit they're supposed to. They find it right away. But, of course, Zach can't help but snoop around. He breaks into a cabinet and finds these stacks of old film strips.
8mm
Thank you, 8mm film strips. And Kate finds the old movie projector next to him. She's like, hey, let's just set it up and start watching these. And while we're basically invading this guy's property, let's just sit around and watch a movie.
Right? I found this very strange.
I found it very strange, too. I didn't find it very probable that this would happen.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird. It's like, okay, you're helping this guy out. You're grabbing crap, and you're going to help him set up his stuff. And you just take time to just, stop, chill, set up an 8mm, which I don't know how to do.
Exactly. Like, how many college kids in 2008 know how to set up an old film projector and make it work? Yeah, I don't think many millennials know how to do that.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, huh?
Plus the fact that they were bitching about they didn't, always take too much time. We're on vacation. We don't want to do this. You think this? Let's get in, get out, and we can get back to our thing, or we can start getting drunk for free.
Right.
But no, we're gonna stay and watch these movies. So the film starts, and we hear that goddamn Turkey in the Straw song again. And the film shows Tubby in his mask killing campers in the woods. And the group, of course, just thinks that this is like a really bad and just poorly done old like horror movie. And we see a naked blonde girl get killed by a saw to the face, and her boyfriend gets like the curved part of the crowbar, like it's stuck through his soft eye hole. We'll bring that back.
Soft eye
hole. And then like his face is like cut in half or something like that. It's really
so they're showing this sequence of like they're making out, and Tubby comes along and spoils the fun.
Yeah.
But the guy in this scene is running away. Tubby has a crowbar tied to like a spool of string.
Yeah,
it's not even a proper rope. While the guy's running away, he's able to throw it over the guy while he's running and hook it right into his eye.
Grappling hooks the fucker. Yeah.
Like he's fucking Legolas or something with the power of the elves. Real elvish rope. I mean, what is going on? That was like a 1 in a million shot. Yikes. And then he's pulling him back with no effort.
Right, this guy, he's a big guy, but he's not like muscular big. He's just tubby and chubby, and they usually say like, yeah, we know he's supposed to be like a kid, so he's supposed to be like mentally slow or have the mental capacity of a kid, but yet he's like incredibly like athletic and like, super strong to do all this. It's like, what is happening? What's going on?
It's like, what?
So as this movie goes on and on, like the group starts to become a little more uneasy, and Katie's like, I gotta get out of here. She goes outside, and of course Pete follows her out pretty much immediately, and they chit chat outside. It doesn't matter.
Pete's like game on.
Yeah, Pete is like all about. He's like Luke Skywalker in the trench of Death Star. He's staying on target.
Stay on
target.
Stay on target. He's gonna get some. Stay on target.
He wants to get his photon torpedo in her vent hole.
Yes. He wants to bomb that swamp rat. Nice.
Okay, so shortly after, bitch Brian shows up and tells him that he thinks something is off about those movies and that they just need to get out of here.
Yeah, he's like, man, these aren't just shitty horror movies. I've seen a lot of horror movies. There's something off about these movies. He's like pretty sure they're snuff films.
Yeah. So, and that's when they hear something coming, and they see branches moving in the distance. So they quickly rush back in to get the others, and they try to like put everything back as best they can, and then leave. And on the way back, Brian just stops to take a piss because, like, when you're scared, you don't want to get caught. You stop to take a piss.
Sure.
You don't hold that.
It's so funny. It sounds like he's getting sick or something. He's like, "Oh, stop! Oh, stop!" And it's like, "What? What's wrong?" He's like, "I think I drank too much water." Dude, just hold it fuck.
Yeah.
You're making your escape, essentially.
I know. You're trying
to... Wait, on. Gotta pee.
Gotta pee.
Nature calls.
But...
I think I drink too much water.
You know what else is weird, though? Like, why make your escape... Like, I understand, okay, you want to put things back the way they are, but why freak out and run away? Because if it is Bobby Hall, the guy they think it is, coming back, then they shouldn't be upset because he's the one who told him to come there in the first place. He's like, hey, guys, we're just here to pick up your stuff. We're about to bring it to you. That's all they would have to say. Like, oh, okay, it's cool.
Well, I mean, they were putting the shit away, the movies and
yeah,
stuff
but then
like
they have to skedaddle like, oh, my God, we can't get caught here.
Yeah,
but they were sent here by him.
It makes sense to scatter and put the stuff away, but it doesn't make sense for them to, like, make a...
That's what I'm saying. That's where it doesn't make sense. So, so Brian's peeing, and he realizes that he finds this old like stone fireplace in the woods, like big stone structure, and he realizes like this is the same one he saw in one of those movies they just watched.
That couple got killed.
Yeah, and he finds a human tooth on the ground.
Where fucking hookshot took place.
Which, by the way, the odds of him finding this tooth are so ridiculously low because it's like he's like scary under leaves. He finds it's like there's no way you would see this.
Yeah, and it's not like there's a bloody mass.
No,
it's just one tooth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there's bits of hair or there's a sign of a struggle or
there might have been a little bit of blood on one of like the stones of the fireplace, but even then to find the tooth under these leaves is ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
So we're skipping ahead to later that night. The group's back at the Queen's Gambit. They're drinking, singing karaoke. The place is packed with people. So I guess all the locals.
So the place is full, mind you. Also.
Which, by the way, the locals are all like 20-somethings.
and in shape.
Yeah, all in shape, skinny 20-somethings that like for a redneck town you'd think they'd be like a little more, middle-aged, gray old man, grumpy old man.
There were some older
thing.
people. There were some older people.
Not a lot, but there's a lot of young uns in there. So Rachel's out there drunk, and they basically after karaoke he gets into a fight with one of the locals over Rachel. Long story short, Zach gets punched in the face. Rachel throws up on Pete, and that's it. And then Zach, is like, hey, I need to use the bathroom because the lines are too long for the main one. So Billy Hall's like, all right, there's an outhouse about 100 yards behind the building.
Before we go to the outhouse, when Zach's on his way to the bathroom to clean himself up,
yes,
and there's that big line,
yeah,
he's walking through the line, and he's trying to get by, and one of the guys goes, hey, man, no cuts, you can't cut in the front of the line, and he goes, man, I just gotta clean my face. Like, well, what makes you better? Who do you think you are, Tony Danza?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes! Oh my God!
Again, it makes me think, is this supposed to be the 80s?
That was the best line. Who do you think you are, Tony Danza? Like, you'd
such a rare name to drop.
You'd say something like, you're obviously trying to say someone who's better than you, or someone who may be very wealthy or in high esteem. And the first person you think of is Tony Danza.
Angela.
Hey, Jonathan. Mona.
Samantha.
God damn. Tony Danza.
I thought, yeah, it's great.
Not like you could just say a king of England or the president. Tony Danza.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
The Pope or something.
I laughed quite a bit at that one.
So Zach heads out of the Queen's Gambit to go find the outhouse, and he gets inside, and once again, just like the other toy, the toy is it's disgusting. It's just shit covered.
Caked in shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
that's what it's like. There's gore in this movie, but the thing that's the most disturbing.
So far, there's been more shit than gore.
Shit quality of this movie is off the hook. I mean, their shit game is strong.
The shit is strong with this one.
It really is.
So basically, but he doesn't use it. He just goes and he washes his face off, washes a little bit of blood off his face, and then he looks down the shit covered toilet and says, "Oh, fuck it," and he starts taking his pants off to shit. Like, I would go shit in the woods before I shit on that thing. I don't care how drunk I am.
How bad do you have to shit where it's like, no, I'm sitting on this caked crap toilet.
And it's not like it's even dry shit. Like, it's like moist, like fresh shit on it.
They showed a maggots crawling on it, too.
Yes!
Like, this is a fucking toilet from hell. And he's like, yeah, whatever.
Fuck it. I would never be that drunk. I would go shit in the woods somewhere, or I just shit in my own hand before I use that toilet.
Probably be more sanitary.
It probably would be. So we go back to the group as they're leaving the restaurant. They apologize to Billy Hall for the way Zach was acting. And meanwhile, Zach's in the outhouse and he starts hearing laughing coming from outside the outhouse. And he thinks again that it's Brian trying to get back at him for earlier. And then suddenly the door just flies open and in comes Tubby. He hits Zach over the head with something. I can't tell what it was. And then he handcuffs him to a pipe. And then Barbasol picks up the toilet, which comes right up.
Just lifts the commode up.
So, like, apparently the toilet was never even connected in the first because it just comes right off. And shit comes out the bottom. It covers.
Dumps the shit all over Zach. Again.
Oh, this like,
just when you think the shit game is at top shelf, they go another notch up and they dump it all over a victim.
I will say this shit looked kind of weak. It looked like they just dumped like a big bowl of chili on him or something.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, you get the point. And then Tubby drops the toilet on Zach's ankles, basically crushing them. He then kneels down next to Zach, who is naked from the waist down, and you do see the full twig and berries here. If you're watching the uncut version. He pulls out like a large pair of pliers, uses them to grab one of Zach's balls. Zach then pisses himself, which you see that too.
Yes.
Then Tubby squeezes the pliers around Zach's testicle. Of course, he's screaming in agony as Tubby squeezes the pliers so tight around his ball that his ball explodes. It
explodes.
And you see this in all of its close-up glory. Pubic hair and everything, ball just exploding and popping right there, close up to the camera.
I believe that's a horrible horror first.
Yeah, it's pretty goddamn visceral. The image will stick with you. I will say that, and I even wrote this is a first for us.
Yeah,
I do not think we've ever had a ball squeezing explosion.
I'm watching this scene and I didn't think about it, but I looked down. I got both hands on my dick. I'm just like, oh, and I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm protecting myself after watching this.
So after the ball explosion, we go back to the campsite. Brian pulls out this pocket magnifying glass.
Gives new meaning to the term busting balls.
Busting nut, yeah. Ball crusher, yeah. Real. All right.
Ball buster.
Ball buster. So yeah, Brian, he pulls out this magnifying glass from his pocket and a film strip he stole. And using the light from he starts going through it frame by frame. In comes Pete, who gives Brian shit for stealing the film. Pete's like, he's like, hey, you know what, Brian, I'm sorry, I've been a bit tough on you, but I know you didn't want to be here. Tell you what, why don't we leave first thing in the morning? We'll go to the amusement park together. Like, yay! What do you say, little whippersnapper? I'll buy you some ice cream and we'll go on the Toronto World Cups all day. Like, really, Paul? Would you? That's swell.
I know. And Brian's not that old. I mean, he's not young. I mean,
they're both college. They're basically the same age.
He's old enough to drink.
Because they're both saying both brothers were going up to like Columbia or something for their master's degree after the when the summer was over or something like that.
Zach and Pete were getting their.
I thought it was Brian and
no, because Zach and Pete did a fist bump.
Yeah, but I thought it was Brian because he had the yeah, right. I don't know. I thought it was Brian and Pete, but
regardless, he's a college student.
Yeah, they're both college students. So, anyway, Brian tells Pete that they can go return the film tonight while Billy Hall is still bartending, and he'll never know who's missing. Nothing, no harm, no foul. So he's like, all right, fine. Pete tells Kate that they're leaving for a bit. Can you please stay, keep an eye on Rachel, who's basically drunk in her tent while they're gone. So we cut to Tubby, who's dragging a body through the woods, which at this point I just assume is Zach, but you don't really see a face. You just see him dragging a body. Back at the storage shed, Brian and Pete, they return the film strip, and Brian finds like then a side room with like dozens of film strips like hanging from clotheslines, like drying,
like a makeshift dark room.
Yes, very much like drying from the
clothespins,
chemical baths and all that. So he grabs one to look at, and this one shows Gina and Kate in the film strip. So as they're looking at it, in comes Tubby and forces him to hide real quick. Tubby notices that the lock on the cabinet where the film strips has been broken, and then he goes like to a side room and dumps like a body in a body. He's carrying like a body bag and he dumps that off. Mm-hmm. And Brian and Pete then head down some back stairs, like to escape, or at least because the other way is blocked off by Tubby now. And at the bottom of the stairs, Brian trips in a puddle. But how you trip in a puddle, I don't get it. But he trips in a puddle of blood and notices several like severed arms and legs scattered around the room. Tubby comes down the stairs and like closes the door they just went in Like, not realizing they were in there, I don't think, but just kind of like, oh, door's closed, and I'll close it, and it locks them in there. So they're trapped now. Back at the campsite, Rachel gets out of her tent wearing only a wife beater and her panties.
Ooh. And it's looking nice.
It is looking she looks good. I will say, she looks great. And she starts to wander off, but Kate stops her, wanting to know what she's doing. What the hell you're doing? And Rachel basically tells, you know what? I actually, I like this little exchange between these two.
It was good.
It was really, I thought it was great acting by the actors. They played off really well, really casual, not over the top, not too bad. And again, the writing was pretty realistic. I like seeing actually so much, and that fact that Kate says something that I loved in this movie, because it's just kind of in a wink to horror movies in general. I actually had the clip recorded. I'm going to play it for you guys. It's about maybe 40 seconds long or so, but it's a good, nice little clip. So just sit back and enjoy this.
Whoa, where are you going?
I heard Zach. I just want to tell him I'm so sorry, and I can't sleep without his snoring.
Let's just get you back in your tent and you get some sleep, and when Zach gets back, I'll wake you up. Okay?
Okay.
Zach?
Zach!
Zach's not out there. Come on.
No, not Zach. I know, because I know his footsteps.
Okay, well, you're not going into the woods to find out. Didn't you ever hear about that little girl who wandered into the woods at night in her fuck-me skivvies?
No.
Yeah, that's because it never happened. No one's dumb enough to do that. Right? Right? I'm gonna get back to my book now. Just get in your tent.
You weren't dumb enough to do that.
So there's that clip, and I just don't, like I said, I like it. I think they did a really good job with that exchange. Plus, it's not easy to play drunk convincingly without being completely over the top or ridiculous about it. And I think Kristen Green did a really good job with it. It was funny. She's had a little bit of humor to that scene, which is also supposed to be serious. And this, again, the whole thing about nobody goes into the roads and the fuck me skivvies.
Yeah.
That's great, because they always do.
They always do, and that's probably one of my favorite parts as well.
Yeah,
it just has a good moment coming back together, where it kind of gives a wink, nudge to, like you said,
the whole
horror genre, like right. So we're not gonna do this, but she does it anyway.
She does it anyway. Yeah, Kate goes back to read her book.
You gotta have it,
and Rachel just like, actually, she's like, ain't nobody's gonna do that, and she's like, gives Kate the finger and just walks off into the woods.
And I kind of like Kate here too. Kate's just like, fuck you. Kate just lets her go.
Well, not at first. She's like, because she didn't see it, because she gave her the finger as she's walking away. But then she hears her stopping, like, she kind of looks at me and she's like, ugh, and she gets up and goes back after her. That's what happens.
Yeah, but I kind of wish she just would have been like, fuck her. Because she doesn't know her. She's just met her today. Two,
maybe,
she's an adult.
maybe, you know what? Maybe that happened. Maybe she's like, at first, like, you know what? Fuck her, let go. And then she's like, oh, God damn it. Okay, I gotta go after her. Because I promised my boyfriend Pete, my new boo. So anyway, yeah. So drunk Rachel goes off anyway, and Kate does end up going after her. And we go back to Pete and Brian, and they're trying to break open, bust out that door. But again, Pete's trying to break open the door. While Brian again is being a little bitch,
cowering in the corner,
like curled up in the fetal position, cowering like a bitch in the corner.
Good God.
Yeah.
Get it together, motherfucker. Jesus.
They end up, and so they end up wandering around the basement now, looking for another way out. And they come like these one of the rolling metal doors that kind of seem like the warehouse loading docks or
industrial.
Yeah.
And
but they can't get it open. So out in the woods, Rachel's calling out for Zach, just being drunk and dumb. And she finds herself at the shack, I believe, like maybe the other side of it or the other end of it. And she turns around to leave, and that's when Barbasol pops up behind her and hits her in the fucking face with a hammer. And Rachel takes this like a champ.
Hammer time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she is knocked down, but she gets like right back up and only has a somewhat bloody nose after getting hit in the fucking face with a hammer.
Hey man, sometimes when you're drunk, that pain just does not register very well. She's just, huh?
But it's a fucking hammer to the face. And she runs away, tries to hide in one of the nearby buildings, which I guess is like the backside of the shack. I don't know. And she grabs a pitchfork and does her best to try to barricade the doors. Her drunkenness is totally gone now, which I can imagine the hammer to the face would sober you up pretty quickly.
Some might say splash a little bit of water on your face or drink some coffee.
Yeah.
I think we just found the solution.
It has to be hit you in the face with a hammer.
So next time I have a few drinks, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm good enough to drive. Marshall, I better keep that hammer handy.
I'll keep a hammer in my trunk at all times.
Give me a good whack on the nose. I'll be good to go.
So she backs up a few steps, but she's barefoot, and she steps on a large nail. This causes her to scream out a bit. Tubby shows up behind her again. Rachel turns around just in time to get hit in the fucking face again with a hammer. She drops to the ground, but she's still conscious.
At least this one fucks her up a little bit more. She's
a little groggy, but she's still there. Tubby starts to pry the nail out like the piece of wood it was
weird.
in.
This is weird. All of a sudden, inspiration hits. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, we got some ringing going
yeah.
on here. Sorry. Inspiration hits. He sees a nail, and he's just like, huh, all right. What's going on here?
And so, meanwhile, Rachel starts to stir and begins to quietly do her best to crawl away. And now at this point, after watching her take 2 hammer shots to the face, I can't get over that. I wholeheartedly believe that Rachel is a superhero, that she is unbreakable. Like, I don't know how you do it. All she had was a little bit of a bloody nose.
She's with it, man. She's okay. But while she's trying to pry this nail out of this board, he's having a hell of a time with it. You know,
it's I will say it's a long nail. It's like a big ass nail, though.
But he's really having some struggles with
for a guy
nail.
who's able to lasso a guy with a crowbar in the eye. He can't get a nail out of a board.
He's having a hell of a time with this nail.
Yeah. So basically, he does get the nail out. He turns attention to Rachel, who is almost gotten away. He grabs her by her ankle, drags her back right as she's about to basically escape through like this hole in the wall, like broken part of the wall. He kneels down next to her, takes like the 9-inch nail, and hammers it. Oh, it was a big ass nail.
9-inch nails, though. I just loved it.
I know. 9-inch nails. And hammers it into one of, like, I guess her Achilles heel, and then pries it out, and then does the same thing to her other one. And again, in the unrated version, it's a lot more graphic. You see it. You actually see him prying it out and do it. It's pretty graphic. She's screaming, crying in pain. Tubby then takes the same nail and with like one swift solid strike from the hammer, just bam, hammers it directly into Rachel's forehead, killing her.
This time when she's getting hammered on, when she's getting nailed.
She's getting nailed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not really putting up much of a fight.
No, she's really not. She's not struggling too much.
No, and that was one thing I was.
He's not really holding her down.
No,
he's holding like
he's literally lining up the nail.
Yeah, he's got one hand on her ankle, and the other one like is. No, yeah, he's holding the nail in one hand, the hammer in the other.
Nail, and she's not really moving.
You're totally right. I didn't even think about that. You know, she just kind of lays there and takes it.
You're gonna get nailed. You better lay there and take it. That's the director talking. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. I'm like,
yeah, she could. Yeah,
it reminded me of that scene in Pork Chop when the character is laying there, the main dude who's banging the.
Oh yeah.
He was just laying
when
there.
He gets crucified.
Pork Chop just goes to town on him.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of stuff that reminded me of Pork Chop in this movie. To be honest with you. Again, like we're talking about the miracle shot with the crowbar, remind me of the miracle shot with the long dart to the head. The perfect lawn dart throw.
Right.
And both of them are fat guys in overalls.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So Rachel's dead. So meanwhile, Brian and Pete they found a car jack and they've used that to force open or jack up the rolling metal door. But the jack gives out and the door crushes Pete's arm, nearly severing it in half. Like it's
compound fracture.
It's gone. It's
looking bad.
Yeah.
And they didn't really explain. I mean, they jacked the door. They got it. They got the jack underneath, it's not like the jack flipped or buckled, and even if it did, there's still about an arm's
Yeah,
thickness.
I was kind of confused by this too.
I didn't like this.
Yeah, it's like you don't see the jack like the pressure like is so much that it, like, you know, pops the jack out and it shoots the jack across the room and the door slams shut,
or that it tipped over because it was just a little off balance. It didn't.
I was really confused of what caused it to, and even like you're right, even if it did, the jack did break, the jack's still gonna be underneath the door, and it's
not gonna cut the jack in half.
Yeah, you know? I don't. Yeah, because the jack's gonna be stronger than the arm. I don't. Yeah, I was really confused by this too. I didn't quite follow this. Why this happened.
But regardless, I mean, it's broken arm.
Broken arm. Yeah. So we cut.
He's basically his arm's useless now.
Yeah, that's what you need to take away from this. We cut to Kate, who has now entered the shack, and she seems to be in the area where they first were there when they found the film. Was the very first time.
Right.
And she comes across the body bag that Brian Peach watched Tubby drop earlier, and she opens it up, and inside is the dead, bloody corpse of the sheriff.
Yeah. So that was one of the questions I had. I'm like, what's going on with the sheriff? Well, we just found out.
There it is.
All right.
He's dead.
There's part of me that was thinking, okay, is the sheriff in on it? Because he seems like really chummy with Tubby when he's going to show him a dead body. So is he in cahoots with him?
I kind of had that feeling tonight because he says this has got to stop. Like he knows that they're killing people, but he's kind of letting it slide because maybe he's getting some back end or he's like, oh, they're killing the outsiders that they don't want in their town or something. I don't know.
And then all of a sudden he's like, well, you got anything to know about this? As he has his arm around
like maybe
him.
it's like I kind of know what's going on, but I can only overlook so much as long as you hide the evidence. But if you leave a dead body in the woods, I can't do anything about that.
It made me kind of think a little bit of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, like the law. The sheriff or whoever was also in, you know, part of the family.
Well, he was like part of the family.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe this is the same kind of thing. But apparently not.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently not. She screams, and her screams are heard by Brian down in the basement, who calls out for her, and she follows his voice to the locked door, and Brian's like, hey, this is what happened. He fills in on the backstory. However, all their shouting back and forth is heard by Tubby Barbasol. Kate also can't open the door that they're locked behind. And Brian's like, go outside, come around to the rolling metal door. She does that, no problems. And Brian tells her that the films they saw were real and that they're basically the next targets. They give her the keys to Pete's trucks that go get help, but hey, do not come back. She's like, I'll come back. He's like, no, just go get help.
Send the
somebody,
police.
Anybody with a gun or something like that. Just get help. And during this exchange, we see Tubby watching Kate from like around like the corner of the barn or something like that. She's watching her. And on the way back to the truck, Kate finds like this old trowel or hole, gardening hole. It's an old fashioned one. You don't see it. I mean, like
it's a pretty wicked looking.
It looks almost
tool.
more like a medieval weapon than a gardening tool. But yeah, she makes it back to the truck with this. She opens the door and we see Tubby again watching her from the darkness, like right like the tree line. And as she gets in, she starts up the truck, and bloody hands come pounding on the window. She peels off, sending the killer off balance. He falls to the ground. She slams on the brakes, waits for Tubby to get back up, floors the gas, slams the truck right into the killer, and crashes into the, I guess it would have been Zach's car, crushing the killer between the two cars.
Good looking scene.
Yeah, it was. It was, really good. Kate gets out, seeing that the killer has somehow still survived this. She takes the pointed end of the trowel and impales it to the top of the head, killing him. And now her curiosity gets the better of her, and she goes over, she removes the pod racing mask, and it reveals that it's Zach dressed up in the killer's clothes.
Bum.
Which you can kind of tell at one point, because you see the guy. Okay, that's obviously a skinny guy. That's not the killer.
Much
skinnier.
Slimmer.
Yeah.
And I got some problems with this.
All right, let's unwrap those problems.
All right, so that's the death scene of Zach.
Yeah.
So Zach, and as you mentioned, he does pop up when he's not fully dead. He pops up. He's got his mouth open. He's going, ugh. Okay.
Right.
Hands out forward, stretching out. Right.
If I had one hand on his balls, like hold his ball to stop that bleeding. You're like, oh, my balls.
So here you got a guy who has his hands free
Mm-hmm.
and can speak.
Yeah, I know where you're going. 'Cause that's my problem too. But keep going.
Obviously, we're on the same page about this. Take off the goddamn mask.
Exactly.
Say, hey, it's me, Zach. There's this crazy dude out here. Help, help, help.
He ruptured my testicle with a pair of pliers.
Instead, he comes up with the costume on still.
Yeah.
Which you'd think he would know, okay, he's trying to pose me as himself,
Yeah.
so I'm going to decoy.
No, there's a lot of flaws with this logic of this scene.
And he's pounding on the glass going, "Brr."
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
Like, you don't see, like, unless there's a scene that was cut out, for which I don't know why they would, because it's still going on, where they cut his tongue out or something, or did something to impede him from speaking. There is no reason why he can't, like, and his hand to take the mask off and then jump up and say, hey, it's me, help me.
Right.
Here's what's going on. But no, yeah, I totally agree. There's a major flaw with this scene.
use your words, Zach.
Use your words.
Use your words.
So at this point, Tubby shows up behind her, grabs Kate, and says to her, don't you worry none about him now. He was just my stunt man. And she fights out of his grip, and she goes to swing the trowel at him, but Tubby just kind of takes like a little hop step back and pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
Pulls out a gun and shoots Kate.
Boom.
Blackout.
Screen goes black.
Goes black. We go back to Pete and Brian, still trapped in that basement room. They sharing a cigarette when they get interrupted by the sound of Tubby starting to unlock the door. So Brian gets up, hides in a dark corner with a pipe. And when Tubby comes in, he walks past it because he's focused on Pete, who's laying there bloody. And so as soon as he passed Brian, he steps out, hits him over the head, and knocks him down. But Barbasol apparently was ready for this because he basically immediately turns and stabs Brian in the knee with either a screwdriver or some kind of very long skinny blade or something.
It was like a little saw, like a little hand saw, like almost like a pruning saw.
Yeah, or almost like not screwdriver, but almost like
it's really
you
small.
see you use them to carve pumpkins with.
Right, it was
like a pumpkin carving
exactly.
blade.
It's like a very small hand saw.
Yeah,
yeah, and so he's coming to Pete. Brian jumps up, and Brian is a very skinny
guy,
scared.
He's
weak.
the smallest guy in the movie.
Right. He's portrayed as a very weak character.
Well, he's the bitch.
Right. Yeah. So when he whacks Bobby Shaw, he does knock him down, but Bobby Shaw's like, "Fuck that!" Turns around, and as Marshall said, he was able to roll with it.
Yeah.
And then he starts fucking up Brian.
Yeah, he kicks Pete in the face just to keep him occupied. He's like, get out of my way. And he grabs the pipe that Brian dropped and just beats Brian over the head with it, knocking him to the floor. And again, we've always said she's a bitch, but I'm like, what a fucking pussy. He gets knocked down by one pipe strike to the head while Rachel took 2 fucking hammer hits to the face. It was pretty much fine.
Yeah.
But Tubby beats and stomps the shit out of Brian.
And he's yelling something here at this point.
He says something like, you're not
the hero of
this
film.
Like, I'm the hero. Like, yeah, he's like, you're something like, I couldn't make out what, but I know you're not the hero or
he's
something.
He's like, you're not the hero of this movie. I'm the hero of this movie. I'm the hero of this film.
Something like that,
and he's hitting him. It's like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. I wish they would have gone more with that.
Yeah, like a little more backstory into the craziness of why he thinks he's obsessed with horror or killing people. Like, there was no...
He mentioned... Those are the only lines he has in this movie.
Yeah.
He talks about having a stunt double, which is movie related, and also being a hero in the movie.
Yeah, so that's the only...
Yeah,
so he's obviously obsessed with movies or something like that.
I wish they would have explored that a little more and
a little bit further. Yeah, a little bit more would have been nice. So Pete now pops up behind Tubby, stabs him in the eye with something. I don't know what it was. But stabs him in the... And again, he's pretty much fine. Tubby's like, that's a minor inconvenience.
he shrieks and kind of grabs his eye, but he also knocks Pete.
But what I'm saying, he knocks him so hard, Pete flies against the wall, hits his head against the wall, and basically goes unconscious. And his head starts bleeding from the front, by the way, which is weird. He hits the back of the head, and then the blood he bleeds in the front.
Yeah.
But he kind of gets stabbed in the eye. He's like, I'm okay.
He rolls with it. Put those pod racer goggles back on.
Yeah.
You're ready to go.
So, but at this point, while this is going, Brian starts to hobble away to try to escape. So again, bitch Brian's like, fuck you, brother Pete. I'm out of here. He's like, I'm leaving. But Tubby slams the door on Brian's hand, basically crushing it, and then starts kicking the shit out of him some more. With Brian on the ground, he handcuffs him to the leg of a dead girl, which at this point we assume is probably Gina.
From the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. And as he walks away, he drops the pipe, which Pete tries to crawl towards, but right as Pete gets about to get his fingers on, he's getting his fingers on the pipe, Tubby comes back and is like toying with him. He's like, just takes it away from him, then kicks Pete in the face again, knocking him out cold. So we faded now on Kate, who's tied to a chair. And now sometime between getting shot and waking up tied to a chair, she has somehow managed to change her clothes.
Right.
So I'm guessing Tubby had stripped her down and dressed her in like this white dress, which may or may not be some kind of old wedding or prom dress or something.
It was like a combination between a dress and a slip almost.
Yeah, but it was definitely a dress because it had like decorative lace or ribbon.
And it was thick enough that it wasn't like lingerie.
But it looks like it has a slip look to it.
Yeah.
Again, really weird because we never see him do that with any of the other victims, like Jean in the beginning.
She's just in her underwear.
Yeah, it was in her underwear. So maybe he hadn't changed her yet.
To Deb or the drunk girl,
Rachel.
Rachel, yeah. He doesn't do it to her.
No,
he just kills her in her underwear.
Yeah, maybe he was gonna change Gina, but he didn't get to it. But again, it's like kind of why. Like, there's no reason like why he's doing again a little more like hint of why he would change her clothes when he didn't bother to do that with anybody else is a little weird.
Yeah.
And it's not like he never made, and there's never any indication like he was stalking Kate throughout the whole movie. Like he's in love. Like he wanted Kate to like be his leading lady. Like he was in love with Kate. Like you're gonna be mine.
Nice, yeah.
There's nothing like that built up, which I kind of thought maybe that's where they're going, but there's nothing brought that all together. Yeah. It's not there. Kate, she struggles to get free, and doing so, she basically ends up smashing the chair, and just, smashes apart, and she's able to free herself. And I do have to say, for someone who's been shot, she's pretty mobile and not really affected too much by a bullet wound.
Fuck that bullet wound.
The women in this movie are badass.
Yeah, they are.
Bullets and hammers to the faces don't really stop them, while the men are bitches.
Just kidding. Shit dumped on them, kicked in the face. Getting their nuts squeezed off.
I'll give that one. I will give Zach that one. But goddamn.
Oh.
So once she's free, Kate finds a shotgun hanging on the wall with a bunch of various weapons like pickaxes and pitchforks and all sorts of old shit like that. Now we cut to Tubby turning on his record player, and the wonderful hillbilly sounds of Turkey in the Straw echo throughout the building. And
one more time.
Oh, gotta bring it back. And then Tubby approaches Pete, who's now chained to the floor somehow, and he's got a sledgehammer in his hand. And Pete's like, "Where's my brother? What do you do with him?" And Tubby's just standing over him with that sledgehammer in hand while he hauls playing in the background. He then goes like Kathy Bates Misery style, he smashes Pete's legs with the hammer.
And just starts going to town on Pete with this sledgehammer.
Yeah, he is systematically just smashing every bone in Pete's body.
He's not going for the kill.
No,
he's going for torture.
Yeah, he's smashing legs, ribs, his sternum, his chest plate. And in one of the shots of the chest, he hits him sore in the chest. It basically blood erupts out Pete's mouth like Old Faithful. It's wow.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's just so at this point we cut to Brian, who is starting to stir now a bit as he can hear the sickening thuds of Pete getting just worked over by the sledgehammer. And Brian, he pulls the blade out of his kneecap and uses it to cut the foot off the dead girl he's handcuffed to, freeing himself, and then starts to crawl to the other room where Pete is just getting turned to mush, basically.
Yeah.
Then we see Pete pudding. Tubby lowers the hammer, the hammerhead the Pete's face level, the camera angle, so it's right in front of his face, and then he pulls back the sledgehammer and basically just explodes Pete's head with one final swing of the hammer.
Just caves his face.
Yeah, just
in.
Destroy. It's done.
And they show it, man.
Yeah, like I said, the gore in this movie it's legit. It's pretty graphic.
After that hit, Pete's face looks like the pie Jason Biggs
fucked. Yeah, exactly. It really does.
It's just a smushed, bloody mess.
I think I meant no. So Brian now crawls up behind Tubby, and in a really stupid fucking move, shouts out, "You motherfucker," before he stabs Tubby in the calf. Now, why I don't understand why you would give up your element of surprise at this point, because that's pretty much the only thing you have going for you here. But stab the guy first, then yell out, then call him a motherfucker. Don't telegraph your shot. You know, you're not Babe Ruth here calling your home run shot.
You can't stand.
You're a bloody mess on the floor, and you've been well established as a bitch in the movie. So,
Babe Ruth, you are not.
Yes, exactly. The Rock, Van Damme, you are not.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tubby Barbasol again barely reacts again, stabbed in the leg, and then just hits Brian with the sledgehammer. Brian drops the blade and he attempts to drag himself down the hallway to get away. But Tubby just basically gets him pinned in a corner. Somebody's
stalking him.
Dead end or something like that. And he's about to kill him with the sledgehammer when he hears the sounds of a girl crying and the cocking of a gun behind him. And he turns around to see there's Kate standing there pointing the shotgun at him. She shoots him. Tubby's blood is sprayed all over Brian's face, just leaving him drenched in blood.
It's awesome.
Like it's like vintage Ric Flair bleeding.
The crimson mask.
Crimson mask, man. It's just
you can just see all you can see are whites of his eyes and teeth.
Yeah, that's it. Literally, it. Like that's all you see. The rest is dark red blood. Tubby falls down dead. Kate steps over him, finds bloody Brian, just that's barely hanging on. And she also sees like the dismembered now remains of her friend Gina. Kate cries out and then does something that I cannot for the life of me figure out the logic behind. Kate pulls a Kurt Cobain and shoots herself in the face with the shotgun. What the shit? I have to rant about this because I don't fucking understand this at all.
This made me mad.
It made me mad too. I'm like, God damn it, bitch! You just killed the killer. You made it. You could have helped Brian up and carried him out, and the two of you would have lived. But no, she fucking shoots herself in the face with a shotgun.
And this is exactly what I thought too. You got Brian who's barely hanging on.
Yeah.
You selfish cunt.
Yeah, you know, help the guy up.
Right.
I'm like, what in the blue flaming fuck is happening?
Okay, I get it. You're going through some major shit, but you gotta come on, help the guy out.
Yes. The two of you could have just gone off. I don't understand this at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I found your bloody dismembered corpse, I'd be fucking freaked out too and crying and screaming. But I don't know if I'd take a shotgun to my face. I'm like, I'm gonna get out of here.
If there's an afterlife or heaven or hell or whatever, and I saw you there, and I'm like, you dumb fuck. Why did you do that, you dick? I would not be happy with you.
I hope Gina's saying that to her. I hope Gina's like, what the fuck, you dumb bitch?
I hated that.
I don't get it. So anyway, we get a good shot of Brian as the camera aims through the hole in Kate's face, yes. Which is a great camera shot, by the way.
I kind of like that, yeah.
Brian manages to get up, grab the gun, and he starts to head out. And that's when he sees Pete's dead body with what's left of his face.
Fucked pie.
Yeah, and then suddenly he's grabbed by Tubby,
who's still not quite dead.
Yeah, and he's able to get the gun away from Brian. Now, Brian gets his hands on a blade, and right as he gets grabbed by Tubby, he holds the barrel underneath Brian's chin, point upwards. And again, for some fucking reason I can't fathom, the two of them just stand there looking at each other, what feels like eternity.
Yeah, I'll give Tubby I'll give him a little bit of credit here because he's barely hanging on. He's got blood pouring out of his mouth.
Yeah,
he is like he's gonna die, and he's on his last limbs, and so I can understand how I'm sure the lights are fading. I'm sure he's on death's door.
See, I looked at it a different way. I thought maybe he's trying to I got you now. I'm gonna cherish and relish this last moment before I kill you. I want to see the fear in your face. Maybe that's it. But Brian, who has a blade that Tubby has no about, just stands there and is like waits to be shot. Like, what? Do something. You know, you're both fucking weakest. I mean, yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not. I don't think he's would be that physically strong. But Brian, like again, he doesn't stab him and Tubby doesn't pull the trigger, and then finally Tubby does pull the trigger, but all he gets is a click.
Empty. Out of bullets.
And then after another short pause, which again is way too long given the situation, Brian finally stabs Tubby Barbashaw in the head with this blade. And again, I don't get it. It's like, okay, first of all, stab him before he even gets a chance to pull the trigger. And even after he pulls the trigger, why are you hesitating again? Just stab the fucker. Like, what's with the waiting around? I don't get it.
It's dramatic flair.
Dramatic effect. Again, Tubby falls to the floor dead. Brian notices a video camera that's been set up on a tripod in a corner apparently this whole time. And we get flashes of Tubby killing someone. My guess is Pete, because you can't really see, but he looks like he's swinging down. So my guess is Pete. Brian makes his way back upstairs to the room where they all watched the film strip the first time. And he sets up another movie, sits down in a chair, smokes a cigarette, and starts watching films of Tubby killing more campers, which, again, I don't understand this at all. He starts to laugh and like golf clap, and he's like, way to go.
Like he's lost it. I guess they're trying to portray that he's lost it.
I guess. And then he has like a revelation. He realizes that the camera is a handheld, meaning that there's somebody else there and somebody else is involved in the killings.
He keeps going, handheld.
He's like, handheld?
Who's
It's a handheld. It's a handheld. It's a handheld. And so he's seen that over and over again. And then a large black dog just casually runs into the room, hops up on the couch right next to him, lays down to sleep. And for some retarded reason, he doesn't see this dog, hear this dog, acknowledge this dog.
He's obsessed with the handheld.
And he's like, what? How do you not see this? And then we see Billy Hall walk up behind Brian. Billy grabs Brian by the hair, yanks his head back, and just slits his throat.
Good effect.
Billy then sees Barbashaw's dead body and just says, God damn it, Barbashaw.
He doesn't say it quite with that cavalier, like, relax. He's pretty distraught.
He's like, God damn it, Barbashaw.
Yeah, he's just like, like, that's...
No, but I mean, it's not like, he's just like, God damn it. It's more like an inconvenience than anything else. And that's it. Roll credits. Now, I did notice in some things in the credits, that... in the section where they list all the songs they use, there's a song called You're Gonna Die by a band named Spider Carcass from 1980. That's credit. And under that, there's a note that says, this is the only band in rock and roll history to ever have been killed by a plane crash while riding in a bus. However, I did look this up, but could not find any mention or record of this event. So I don't know. I could not find a band named Spider Carcass. I did find bands named Carcass.
No, there's Carcass, yeah.
But not Spider Carcass,
right.
Even AT. So I don't... But it's a weird thing to put.
Pretty funny. Is it a little fun?
Yeah, is this like a little?
Is it something silly?
Is this like an inside
or is this
joke?
An actual thing?
Yeah, but I couldn't find it on the internet. Like I look up Spider Carcass band 1980. Nothing about. I can't even see the band existed anywhere. Just Carcass. Just a band named Carcass.
But it'd be pretty hilarious if they were riding in a bus and a plane crashed into them.
Yeah. And then at the end, there's also a line that mentions in the credits that this movie was proudly made by hardworking children in factories. Other than that's all there is about the credits. Nothing. No, there's no hidden scenes or anything like that. So that's it. That's Carver,
That's
2008,
Carver.
The Gore Fest,
the
unedited version, which I do. Well, I'll come back to that. So anyway, let's move on to favorite kills.
Don't act like you didn't love it. Favorite kill.
All right. There's a handful, maybe 5-6 kills in here.
And they're
lots
all
of gore, all pretty
good kills.
So yeah, this is going to be one of our better, more to work with this week than we've had in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So as always, what's your favorite kill?
Well, okay, we had some pretty decent kills overall. I would have to say, I think, Pete getting hammer time was pretty good. Getting worked over, like that shot to the chest.
That shot to the chest was that's just a great shot.
The face getting smashed, that was good. You had the very first one, which was the girl getting her head kind of strangled, and she was getting strangled, and then that was pretty graphic.
Yeah.
It was good too. But I think my favorite is just all the shit that happened to Zach. So I just love that guy. Poor bastard. Just he gets smashed in the face with a hammer, gets shit dumped on him, his legs get smashed with a toilet. He gets his nut smashed.
Yeah.
And then you think, poor bastard's probably dead. No! He goes on to get smashed with a car and then gets some weird gardening tool from Satan's workshop into his head to finally finish him off. That poor fuck went through so much in this movie. All that shit that happened to Zach is my favorite kill.
All right, I know. Obviously, the nut busting is pretty memorable. I mean, you can't forget
definitely
it,
memorable.
but it's not a kill. It doesn't kill. My favorite kill is actually as visceral and brutal as Pete's was. My favorite kill you mentioned is actually, I'm gonna go with Gina, the very first one, because when I saw the unedited version of this kill, it really like helped set the tone. Because I watched the edited version first, because actually, I should have mentioned this at the top of the movie, but I'll bring it up at
odds and ends.
I'll bring it up later. But that first kill of Gina with that saw, like, okay, she's swinging, then the saw blade is basically nearly decapitated. It's not fully decapitated, but you see like a sliver of the.
It's like 3/4 of the way.
And you see like dangling behind her.
Yeah.
Like it was good effect. It was bloody. It was like, oh god. So Gina, the very first kill in the movie, was my favorite kill, for Carver. So with that, let's move on to odds and ends.
Not only did they watch these films, they researched them too. Ugh, what is wrong with these guys?
Okay, ratings. IMDb gives it a 4.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, no thermometer score, which I'm a little surprised by because it has been out since 2008.
It's coming up on 10 years.
Yeah. And I know it's independent, but it's still like anything is. I thought there'd be some score on it, but it does have a 30% audience score. And Amazon gives it a 2.8 out of 5.
Surprised.
Plot keywords, there were 30 plot keywords. I just wrote down a few of them when I first caught my eye. Castration, outhouse, snuff film, vagina, and shaved vagina are all plot keywords for this movie.
Vagina and shaved vagina.
Yeah, I maybe when I saw these, like, wait, but like, there's a very quick glimpse of like in one of the film footages of the blonde girl in the woods of like her.
She's naked.
She's naked, but it's such a quick glimpse that
you gotta really.
You barely see it.
You gotta be a proper perv to find that.
Yeah, it's exactly have that as a plot keyword when it's in there for like less than a second.
Right.
That's pretty pervy. So moving on to trivia. Now this is awesome. Because the trivia, I have a lot of trivia this week, but the reason I'm going to read all of it is because it comes straight from Franklin Guerrero himself.
Thank you.
This is all stuff he sent me in an email about the movie and from his perspective and in his words. So
shout out, very cool.
Again, very awesome about that. So and again, while we're talking about how awesome he is, this is where I'll bring it up again. Like I watched the edited version first. And then when I was talking to him, he's like, dude, you have to watch the unrated version. I'm like, I'm trying, but I can't find it anywhere. It's just the R-rated. He's like, oh, well, let me take care of that. He went and uploaded this movie to like a Vimeo account he has himself, the unedited version, and then sent me the password for it so I could watch the gory, how it's supposed to be. And he didn't have to do that.
No.
He didn't have to do that at all, but he did this. So like, that's awesome.
Very
so
cool.
Again, very cool to allow us to watch the unedited. And I got to say, I'm glad I watched the edited version first because you definitely see night and day difference. It's really night and day difference with when you add the gore. Like, is the movie that great? We'll get into that later, but it is so much better being able to see it in its entirety, and the gore helps it along. So it really does make a big difference in this movie. So anyway, trivia. First of all, I asked the true story thing. It says based on true events.
Yeah.
And he says not so much, just some bullshit I put in because I thought it was funny. Figure if someone ever put me on the spot, I'd bullshit about some Ed Gein inspiration since so many other films say he inspired the story, but this wasn't actually inspired by Gein, just a random story. It was made up. For the most part, Carver was a pretty smooth production. We didn't really run into too many issues other than being cold and uncomfortable. Normal low-budget filmmaking stuff. Trying to make something ultra-violent and fun for very little money. Working stupid long hours and during questionable hygienic conditions. Called in a lot of favors. Most of the gear we used was stuff I got on my last movie called Eighth Plague. A lot of actors came from out of town. They all stayed at the residence where the barn location was situated. It was a big-ass house, and the guy who financed our movie owned, and they were like college kids in a dorm room. They loved it. Really built a camaraderie amongst the cast. and I think we shot there for like 4 weeks in Northern Virginia. I guess our only real issue was that we were too cheap to hire a sound guy. Well, a proper sound guy anyway. We just gave a PA a microphone and said, go for it. That came to me a bit. They came to bite me in the ass later. I ended up having to re-record a lot of the dialogue. So that again explains probably some of the sound problems we were talking about earlier.
There's definitely a scene in the bar when they're re-recording dialogue. You can see it plain as day.
Okay. Now this is a ghost story he has from the making of the movie. It says we shot this one location where the owner claimed was haunted. The story the guy told us was that during the Civil War, the father had his son, but was I think there's a typo. The father hold his son, but he was the man of the house and had to protect his mother now because the father went off to fight in the war. Then at some point, Northern troops started advancing on the house. There's this big bay window in that house, and the little boy took his rifle, smashed out the window from inside, and started shooting at the troops until he himself was killed by return fire. Fast forward, when this guy bought the house, they were trying to renovate it, but they kept hearing weird noise, and every time they replaced that big bay window, it would mysteriously shatter from the inside. This happened 3 or 4 times before the guy got so creeped out that he abandoned the house altogether and built a completely brand new house about 100 yards away from the old house. It's a huge property. Okay, so here's how it ties in with Carver. The big truck that's featured in the movie, so I'm guessing Pete's truck. The blue and white one, yeah, it's Pete's. We parked it at the haunted house, quote unquote, for about a week while we were shooting in the woods around it. We moved to another location 50 miles away. While we were shooting, the truck was parked in empty parking with no people around. As far as the eye could see, suddenly we hear a loud crash. Everybody on set turns to look at the truck, sitting there by itself in the parking lot. The back window had been smashed, but the weird thing is that there's nobody around it, and almost all the glass was inside. There was no glass inside, but the glass was all over the parking lot as if it had been broken from the inside, very much like what was described to us by the man that owned the house. True story, weird, and probably explained by something rational, but still creepy as hell.
Bum, bum,
Bum,
bum.
bum.
That's pretty good. I like that.
We use a pig leg in the one scene where Brian has to saw through a leg in order to escape the handcuffs. When we try to cut through it we quickly realize that it's actually impossible to saw through bone with that kind of saw. Somehow he managed to break the leg and fake it.
Yeah.
On that note, the girl he is handcuffed to was supposed to be the girl from the opening credits scene, Gina, which we called, but she wasn't available, so we actually just used Kristen Green, the main blonde, as a stand-in, which I thought that, because when there's a quick
Those legs look
No, it
right.
wasn't a leg. Like, there was a quick shot of, like, it's very subtle, very quick, but there's a quick shot of her, and they show her butt, and the girl he's handcuffed to is wearing the pink panties that Rachel was wearing, not the ones that Gina was wearing, because they were different cut.
So you noticed different panties.
Which I'm surprisingly not a keyword on this movie.
Right?
The panty guys did not show up for this one.
Our panty people are dropping the ball.
I know. All right, so the bar location, the Queen's Gambit. This is the weird place that me and my sister go to whenever I'm in town. We say that we're going there ironically, but we actually enjoy it a lot. It really does have karaoke, and it really is ridiculous. Because that place was weird. Because it had like all sorts of like weird like mounted heads, and the decor is really weird. It was an odd place.
Christmas lights on the bar.
Yeah, it was a goofy place.
And shit covering toilets.
In the beginning of the movie, during the title sequence, the killer looks like he's peeing on a girl. That was actually not my intention. Actually had him spraying her with a hose. Then later people would come up to me and say, dude, that's really nasty the way you had him pee on that girl. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Then I looked at it again and realized, yeah, in retrospect, the way he's holding the hose, it totally looks like he's pissing on her. And it looks yellow. I think that's so much more fitting than that he would pee on her. Happy accident.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
The testicle exploding is the only CG used in the movie. The busticle scene. Everything else is a practical effect. Practical effects are the most fun part of making a horror movie, but it's really messy. The part where the guy gets his head smashed in with a sledgehammer. So Pete, we used a real sledgehammer on a fake head made out of wax. But as hard as the killer was hitting it, he still could not break the head because it was too thick. The actor got so frustrated and agitated, he was nearly in tears. Ultimately, we had to find some other way to break the head open with a bunch of us jumping up and down on it. Then we faked the effect somehow with editing.
It looks good.
It does look good.
Good editing.
Now, you'll like this one. There's a part in the movie where one of the characters tries to cut line to go to the bathroom. Somebody stops and says, who do you think you are, Tony Danza?
Yes.
It's an obscure reference to a System of a Down song. However, when Carver was dubbed in French for the French release, which blows my mind that there's an international release of this movie, but hey, they replaced the name Tony Danza with John Travolta, which just made me laugh my ass off for some reason, he says. In this scene where the girl crashes the car, we didn't use a stunt driver. So when Kate crashes the car, it was really Kate driving the car. She actually did it herself. In retrospect, I regret the decision only because it was so reckless and somebody could have really gotten hurt. But she did not get hurt, and she had a blast doing it. All right, we're winding down here. But he took the time to write all this, so I'm going to acknowledge everything he wrote. I still have a lot of props from the movie sitting around my closet, including the fake dick and testicle from the squishing scene. I like to freak people out with it. I personally did all the set dressing for the poop smeared toilets, not with my own poop, but with bouillon paste. So he did all the poop. Most of the set dressing and a lot of the props were used for just random crap we found in the barn we shot in. It was just cluttered with a lot of random crap, so we figured put it to good use. And anytime I needed to spray somebody with copious amounts of blood at once, in one shot, I used a t-shirt cannon. It's just PVC pipe with CO2 cartridge rigged at the back. I would just shove a bunch of blood and goop in there and then let it rip into somebody's face.
Like that shot with Brian. Oh my God, that was so awesome. It was just that poor bastard.
Yeah.
Just got it in the face.
And also a big thank you again for Frank, because if it wasn't for him, we would not be able to play this week's budget game.
Oh.
But because of him, we get to play the budget game.
Time for Aaron to blow his wad with the budget game.
Hot dog.
Hot diggity dog. All right. Aaron, what do you guess is the budget for the 2008 independent movie Carver?
Got a lot of information.
Yeah, a lot of information
there. He mentioned low budget sound, but it was shot pretty well. It sounds like they stayed for free. Someone financed the movie. They didn't use a lot of. It looks like their set was pretty small. They used pretty much everything in the barn. They didn't go shooting a lot of different places. They used that bar that they like to go to. I'm sure they didn't have to pay too much to use that. Not accommodations were already taken care of. I'm gonna say $75,000 to $100,000. I'm gonna say $75,000 just for the hell of it.
Your guess is $75,000.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron Southworth, just like Zach, you busted your nut.
Ah, pretty good. I like that.
Budget for Carver, $25,000.
Wow.
Yep.
$25,000. That's not bad.
That is not bad at all.
That's pretty good work for $25,000. And I'm we talked about this last week or the week before. When you get to these small, it's hard to kind of
pinpoint.
Yeah. So I don't feel too bad guessing 75,000. I'm glad I didn't go all the way to 100. Went back down to 75,000. But I'm surprised. I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah. I do have before we go on to 5-star reviews, I do want to say one thing. I remember watching this movie. I ended up watching this like years ago. I remember seeing this at one point.
I came over to your house.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
And
this is one of the movies that actually kind of helped us inspire us to.
Well, it was like right when we first started the podcast 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find movies to do, and I watched this one. I been on my list for a long time. We finally got to it, but I want to say, I think they re-released it. Or touched up on digital, because I remember the first time I watched it, the film quality was not this good. I remember it being much lighter and like fuzzier, grainier, and the sound quality in that version was a lot worse because sometimes you could barely even hear anything. So I really think
digitally remastered.
I think they digitally did something. They for the digital they redid something. I think recently. Plus, I noticed the cover art on Amazon changed. Like it was a different cover art than the first time I saw it, because the first one just had a picture of Barbasol, Bobby Shaw, and then the one they do now is like a picture of a girl's face, close up of a girl's face, like screaming or something like that, and like that's almost like. So I'm wondering if there was some kind of touch up done recently to make it better, which worked because it was so much better this time around than I watched it 2 years ago. So something made it a lot better. Anyway, with that said, let's move on to 5-star reviews.
Is this your guilty pleasure? 5-star reviews.
All right, I only wrote down 3 this week. From White Thunder. Nice movie hot girls. Too bad they all die. Sexy though. Overall hot movie. I liked it. Well, he spelled hot with 3 T's.
Yeah.
From Kay Harper. Like running fingernails on a blackboard is how some of the scenes make me feel in this film. Awesome horror. It's up there with Hostel, Saw, Texas Chainsaw. A lot of blood, a lot of torture, and a little extra treat. There are some nice scenes of actress Kristen Green. 5 stars.
Someone's a fan.
Someone is a fan. And from Andrew Lynch. Oh boy, this is the worst grammar one of all of them. All right. This movie I saw one night in the fall with a girlfriend, and she was getting all grossed out by the violence. So I was like, oh, it's no biggie. There won't be much gore. By the end, she was like left the room so many times. I personally don't see why these things bother people, but when I saw the dude's nuts get popped with pliers after he got the crappy toilet thrown him, it was nutty as all, man. It's definitely a gore movie, but I guess some people just can't take gore like me. I personally don't get scared unless the movie is some wicked, crazy movie on a huge screen and things are influencing my mind. But man, oh man, did the toilet scene freak me out. It's worth a watch. I'm sure anybody will like it. 5 stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone liked the poop scene.
All right. So that's it. Let's go into final thoughts here this week. Aaron, take it away.
So when I started watching this movie, I realized, oh, it's that movie that Marshall and I watched when we first started doing our podcast. And I was like, I remember thinking this movie was a piece of shit and it sucked and it was prime time for our podcast. Why is it taking us so long? But then after watching it, there's not a lot of flaws in this movie. There really aren't. It's very smooth. I mean, they explain a lot of things with logic. We've already highlighted things that were kind of like what the fuck, like the parts with Zach. That kind of sucked. That stuck out of my mind.
And Kate killing herself.
Killing herself. But again, that's just a choice. You don't have to like the choice. I mean, that's fine. But overall, it still kind of fit in the movie. I mean, it didn't. It was at the very end. The gore was fantastic. I thought the gore was really, really good. There was some decent dialogue. You got the sense that, Bobby Shaw was, a legit scary guy. We liked Billy Haw. Billy Hall,
the redhead,
great.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea that we were kind of pulling from, that Bobby Shaw may have some obsession with movies and he's filming these crews. I would have liked a little bit more of that. If you could maybe put that into the story, if you can just kind of like bring that more into focus a little bit. I think there was something there that could have been interesting, but we didn't get it. Overall, though, I'm going to have to say So Bad It's Good.
All right.
I enjoed it.
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised. I mean, this is something I'm going to say, oh, wow, it's my top 10, but, it was a lot better than I thought. I mean, I'm definitely, a lot of times I'm on the fence. I'm not on the fence. It's definitely like I'd give it a B, above average.
All right.
I'm
right there with you because I remember the first time I saw this movie years ago when I was like, this is awful. Because the film quality is bad. The visual, which watching it was bad. The sound was awful. It was bad. But then, like I said, they retouched. Something happened. And when I was watching it this time.
Pixie dust.
Yeah, just Tinkerbell came in and dropped some pixie dust on it. But I agree with you after watching, and especially watching the unrated version. And normally, sometimes gore can be too much over the top, and a movie can rely too much on it. But in this case, it really did help make the movie, because watching the unedited version was just. If that was the movie I watched, I probably would have said definitely So Bad It's Scary, because it was lacking in all accounts. There was no point watching it. But with the unedited version, which is I'm kind of hard to find right now. If you can get your hands on a copy of it, I highly recommend it. I'm right there with you, man. I came in ready to say So Bad It's Scary. I thought for sure, but after watching it, I'm right there with you, man. So Bad It's Good. I agree. There's not a whole lot of flaws. The flaws we did have, some were kind of big, like logically, but we touched on those. But you're right. I mean, it's not that bad. Is it groundbreaking horror movie? No. It follows your basic kind of form, like everything, but it's solid. It's watchable. Like I said, the acting is actually pretty darn good. The writing is solid. Mm-hmm. There's some great moments in there,
right?
And some great gore with practical effects. And basically, I'm not gonna say a shoestring because it's not like the $3,000 that Pork Chop was, but $25,000. Solid effects.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, I say watch the unrated version. If you can find it, get your hands on that. Watch the unrated version because the R-rated is not worth it because it takes all the good stuff out. But yeah, So Bad It's Good, man.
Yeah, the unrated version, it was enjoyable. Like, it's a good, solid horror movie.
Yeah,
it's something that should be in your lineup in October for when you're watching scary movies throughout the month.
Yeah,
it should definitely be in your lineup.
It could very well be, man. It's surprisingly good. I that's where I'm stuck at. Like when I looked at those the ratings on when we did the ratings, I'm like looking back, like these are really low. And I look back, I don't think I wouldn't rate them that low. Mm-hmm. And no, the shit we do on this movie, we do shit.
Yeah,
like we've seen some real shit. This one's pretty. I mean, it's solid.
Yeah,
it makes me want like Franklin Guerrero. Like I kind of want. He's mentioned that his first movie, The Eighth Plague. Kind of want to go see that, see if it's what that one's like now.
Right.
Like, it makes me want to see his other work. So anyway, that's it. I round on. We 2 thumbs up for this one this week. So yeah, we'll be back next week.
Two busted nuts up.
All right, remember, Aaron, give them a lowdown on where they can find us.
All right, of course, you guys can always find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter at So Bad It's Scary. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and we stream from our website, horriblehorrorpodcast.com. That is another place where you can leave us messages. Like our stuff. If you have a comment, please feel free. We've actually been having, some directors and writers of shows comment. If there's, you can see them there, you can interact with them. So we're starting to get a little bit of ground. Again, we were just recently on the radio of Brothers on Whatever. I'm sure you can still pull up the archives on that if you want to hear us at, I believe the radio station was
590 The Fan.
590 The Fan.
If you want to hear the interview, you can hear it on. You can go to InsideSTL.com. Go to Brothers on Whatever, and bring up the podcast page, and they have the audio files there to listen to.
So very cool. All right, guys. So yeah, that was it, and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, surprisingly, so much better than I thought. All right, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, guys, watch more horror movies, and always remember to keep it tight.